Let's talk about customs. Oh, yes, the customs has a big role in, well, contributing to Nigeria's economy, very vital role. There's the revenue bit, but there's also the ease of business, that whole importing, exporting. Customs is right in the middle of it. And we're joined on the program this morning by the spokesperson of the Nigeria Customs Service, Abdullahi Maiwada. He's live with us from our Abuja studio. Good morning, AC. You're welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So let's get right into it. There's always been that debate about the role of customs. It looks like there's always a talk about revenue generation. Okay, you have this target, you meet it, and the next year you even set a higher target, you meet it, and you set a much higher target, and the businesses are saying, can you slow down a bit and let us breathe in that sense? So how are you able to balance that, your drive for revenue, and then the very important role of ensuring businesses, those who engage in export and import, are also able to do their business with ease and not be stifled or suffocated in that sense, Mr. Maiwada?
Well, once again, thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to state it very clearly that customs is sitting on a tripod of three core functions. We collect revenue on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria. We facilitate trade, and facilitation of trade entails ease of doing business, having seamless processes and procedures, as well as suppression of smuggling. So these four core functions are interwoven. If you concentrate on revenue generation at the detriment of suppression of smuggling, definitely the system will collapse. If you also focus on trade facilitation and give less preference to revenue collection, also there will be an issue. So we strike a balance between those three core functions in order to stabilize the economy, both in terms of security, both economically, for the system to be very viable. So our critical role in trade facilitation, ease of doing business, is very important and is very germane. So also the revenue generation. So it's a tripod, and I'm sure a tripod cannot stand on two legs or one. So it must be three for you to have that balance.
So let's pick the tripod one, or at least the legs, one after the other. And I want to start with smuggling, right? Because that's also a major challenge for the customs. You can see reports about one killed as customs smugglers clash in Ogun. The customs also talking about how smuggling inflicts pain on the economy in that sense. But over the past few months, journalist Usai Shoyombo has been saying good morning to the customs, giving out information about smuggling, with allegations of even officers within the customs facilitating smuggling activities. And I want to know how well the customs is working with him, or with the information he's given, being able to also curb smuggling and also look for the moles within. How well is that going?
Well, let me start by saying we have a very critical role to suppress smuggling to the barest minimum. And mark my words, I said suppression of smuggling. There's nowhere in the world where a custom administration is able to end smuggling or to truncate smuggling 100%. Our role is to suppress smuggling to the barest minimum. Now, what are we doing to be very effective in our anti-smuggling operations? Which means there must be some goods that will come in illegitimately, and in the process of that, we will be able to also substantially intercept some of the goods that will come into the country. So we have a very vast terrain. People will try to smuggle goods through our airports. Smugglers will try to smuggle through our seaports. It could be through our land borders. What are we doing differently from what we have been doing before? I'm not saying we have arrived where we need to reach our destination. Surely there is always room for improvement. But however, in the last few years or in the last few months, you have seen scourge of interceptions of different calibers of goods, those that are even harmful to our health, those that are also inimical to our security as a nation. We have numerous interceptions. Just recently, just a few days back, we are going to issue a statement. We intercepted money laundering. We intercepted a huge amount of dollars as well as Saudi riyals coming in through Malam Aminu Kano International Airport. In the same place where he focused, Nigeria is so bigger than between Ogun State and semi-borders. We have so many vast terrain, porous terrains, that customs are working assiduously to make sure that smuggling is suppressed to the barest minimum. You can see numerous interception of narcotics, hard drugs, that are so visible we hand over through our waterways, our Western Marine, through our land borders, and which we have often hand over to NDLA. You can see often interception of even rice, turkey, and so on, so items that are not supposed to come in. So we are not saying we are perfect, we are not saying we are doing well, but I think we can say there's always room for improvement. One of the things we have done is now to look at the issue of, intelligence-driven operations. We have tried to embed technology into what we are using. Now we are using geospatial intelligence, we are using a GIS system, satellite remote sensing, to see all those routes that are perpetuated by smugglers. Today, as I'm talking to you, in the next few hours, I will be in Taraba, Jalingo, by the grace of God. What are we there? To showcase some of the items we have seized. We have worked so hard to make sure that smuggling of petroleum products outside the country is also truncated through an operation called Operation Whirlwind. And you will never see a vehicle reaching Operation Whirlwind in anywhere in Nigeria, because the operation is intelligence-driven, and we are also using technology. So in terms of interception, we are doing very well, but yes, there's room for improvement. Now, for the issue of moles among us, I'm not saying 100% customs, all of them. We might have one or two officers or men that might aid smuggling. But what do we do in that? We have mechanisms. We have first the preventive measure, that is the deterrent. What do we do in terms of deterrent? Make sure that our officers are well taken care of in terms of their motivation for them to perform their functions effectively. Now, if any officer is found wanting, yes, there are mechanisms, there are disciplinary measures deployed by customs, and if somebody is established that he has committed that offense, definitely the wrath of the law will be invoked on that person. So we have mechanism, we have deterrence, and we also have disciplinary measures.
Mr. Maiwada, commendable efforts, but a lot more needs to be done. So I want you to give us data to support some of the things you've said. People allege that there's a lot of corruption in the customs because of the things they're exposed to in terms of the monies they generate and the seizures that happen in that space. And these customs officers are human beings, they are Nigerians. So people always allege that there's a large-scale corruption within the customs. These are allegations. I want to know, beyond what you said, what exactly is the customs doing to rebuild confidence in the public, to change that perception? Because at least with the EFCC, that allegation has also been made. But we've seen EFCC suspend their officers, and this is published. We can go, if I just Google now, I'm going to see this officer, that officer, or a certain number of officers suspended and what they did. Either they took money that were seized or they were in one form of infraction. When was the last time we saw such with the customs, and what was the scale of it? Because it's not just about internal mechanism trying to resolve corruption that the people perceive is endemic in the custom. It's also to rebuild the public confidence in the custom that the perception is wrong. So give me facts as to when was the last time a corrupt official was shown the door or reprimanded sternly as a deterrent, not just internal mechanism.
Well, let me build your answer with in customs administration globally, customs believes in integrity, and that's why we have what is called rsha declaration. rsha declaration is a declaration that dwells on integrity of custom officers. In resonance to what you have said, currently, as I'm talking to you, customs is undergoing a process of SIPs. And what does SIP stands for? Customs Integrity Perception Survey. Who are going to be respondent to that survey? Our stakeholders will be part of it, and custom officers will also be part of it, respondent of that survey. And this will be done by an independent body, by the World Customs Organization in collaboration with PricewaterhouseCoopers. Now, this integrity, it's meant to respond to the issues you are saying. How do you restore confidence in what we are doing? We want to see how does the stakeholder perceive us in terms of our discharge of our responsibilities. Now, you raise a question of how many people have been, disciplinary measures have been invoked on them and we have not made it public. I want to say it clearly. We have a process. I can mention number of officers that have been dismissed. Some have been demoted in ranks. Some have been rusticated and so on and so forth. So we have disciplinary mechanism, and I know an officer that was dismissed for a case of fraud. I have officers who have cases of suspension that are currently going on. There is no board meeting of the Nigerian Customs Service that will take place without invoking issues that has to do with either disciplinary measures, appointment, promotion, and discipline of officers. So we have them in numbers.
Mr. Maiwada, that is why I am giving you the opportunity to disclose to Nigerians who don't trust that there is no large-scale corruption in the customs to say the names or some of the things they did. I gave you an example of the EFCC. All you have to do is on your device, Google. You will find the names or at least what the infractions are that they committed, that the EFCC had to show them the way out. I don't think we have that.
I just cited an example. An officer was dismissed for fraud. Recently, in the last two board meetings, there was a dismissal case of an officer who was found wanting.
What was the level of the officer?
Yes.
What was the rank of the officer? What was the rank of the officer?
The rank of, he should be a Chief Superintendent of Customs.
Okay. Carry.
Bukola, I know you might want to comment before I throw in my next question.
We have a case when a member of a management team of a customs was also dismissed. These are cases that we have them very available. You can Google also the so-called Google and you will see it. We have, there is no board meeting of customs that will take place that you won't see a cases of dismissal or suspension of officers among across the ranks in customs.
Well, Esmiwada, the point here is also have it published from time to time so Nigerians can track and say, oh, indeed, the work you're doing behind the scenes. Yes, so I think that's the point being made. But Bukola, over to you now.
Yes, and that, indeed, Kari and Jeffrey, those are very important questions. Accountability is key. But let's look at other issues now. And I'm wondering if we're going to get any update, Mr. Maiwada, on the proposed waiver on food importation by the federal government from last year. What we hear was that your agency didn't get correspondence from the CBN on the list of companies that were supposed to qualify for the tax waiver. And the price of food is still skyrocketing, particularly for staples for Nigerians. So is there any update that you can provide for us on this particular one? What correspondence are you getting from the top hierarchy of the Nigeria Customs Service about whether this policy is not going to show up again anytime soon, or it's dead and Nigerians can pretty much consider that it was a promise that was not delivered?
Thank you very much. I think maybe we have a contradicting data between me and you, because I also go to the same market you find yourself to buy staples. And I can tell you substantially the price of food items have come down based on my own market that I used to go and buy food for myself. So maybe we have different contrasting data between me and you. Now, secondly, on the
Mr. Maiwada, how much are you buying a bag of rice?
In terms of the waiver.
How much are you buying a bag of rice?
Waiver. Well, we don't need to go into details, but I know based on what I have, the price of staples.
Well, I'm wondering because Nigerians are buying a bag of rice for
better.
Above 100,000 naira. So we cannot make a blanket statement that generally price of all staples are going down. So you can go ahead with your answer, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So that will be a debate for another date, but I'm just trying to tell you the staples food have subsided in terms of price. Now, on the issue of a waiver on some categories of food items, I think I need to use this opportunity to educate members of the public that some thought that that policy is meant for you to just go in, place your order, import food items into Nigeria. No. There are a requirement that was placed by the federal government of Nigeria, regulation and guidelines required for the implementation of that policy. Ours, as responsive government agencies, our responsibility is to implement government policy. If some people have come in and we have the list and they have met the criteria set by the federal government, definitely we are going to implement that policy. So our role is to implement, and we are not responsible for those who could not meet the criteria set by the government. So that is our role, and that is all I can say in terms of implementation of policy.
Someone was joking that perhaps you probably do not buy rice being a member of the customs service, but that's another kettle of fish.
I eat local rice. I buy rice from local market, produced in Nigeria, and processed in Nigeria. I don't even eat foreign rice, so I know the price, and I know what I'm saying.
So do you buy?
Of course I buy rice.
Okay, we'll have to take...
This Ramadan I bought rice, and the rice I bought is it was produced in Nigeria. And I can categorically state, if you go to my house in Kano today, I have local rice in my house. What I gave to some people or my relatives is local rice produced in Nigeria.
We'll have to take your word for it if you say that you indeed go to the market to buy rice. Very quickly, before we let you go, okay, I'm told that we're totally out of time. But okay, I can slot in just one more, sir. The proposal by the Presidential Committee on Tax Reforms Bills for the transition of the FIRS to the Nigeria Revenue Service, part of the component seems to suggest that the Customs Service will no longer collect revenue, and that revenue will be digitized. I wonder, there's been some advocacy by the Customs, but what can you tell us about the current position of the Customs, particularly with ongoing amendments of those bills before the National Assembly?
What I will tell you clearly is we believe in tax reform. Because as an agency of government, we have a law that was over 63 years old. We also reviewed our law because we believe that tax laws need to be reviewed because of the nature embedding technology and some innovation in the collection of revenue. So we are in support of tax reform. And the issues, the gray areas that were mentioned are issues that are still subjected to public hearing. And I'm sure I may not be competent enough to comment on that. I'm sure the agencies of government responsible for implementation of those laws are going to do what will be the best in the interest of public interest. So we are 100% in support of that law because we have benefited from review of our law, and that is why you are seeing upward collection of revenue. We collected a whooping amount in 2024 because our laws enable us to use technology. Before, in our laws, we don't have authorized economic operators, we don't have advanced ruling, we don't have the technology embedded into our law, and this enables us to perform better optimally. So I think tax reform is something that is good for Nigerians. However, other deliberations on the gray area is left for those who are responsible to look into those gray areas.
Definitely, but you will also be a part of that whole process because you know where the issues are, and you will be the ones to implement it. But just quickly, less than 30 seconds before we go, how long does it take now, or should it take, to clear goods at the ports? What is the target now? What is the goal, the golden rule for the customs?
Well, we have launched an ambitious trade modernization project. We have launched an indigenous software called Bodogu. It's a unified custom management system that was developed by Nigerians and in Nigeria. It's one of the process in which we want to use to make sure that trade is facilitated. We have brought in new scanners, and very soon we are going to install a gantry scanner in Apapa under our trade modernization project concession agreement. We are bringing new scanners in Tinkan and in our airports. So we are sure that with these innovations, with this development, there is going to be effectiveness and efficiency in the way we handle our processes and procedures as an agency of government. So definitely I cannot tell you time. It depends on the nature of good. It depends on the level of compliance. If you are an AO operator, which we trusted traders, you have the opportunity to swiftly to fast-track the movement of your goods. And if you are non-compliant, definitely there will be delay because you are going to be subjected to scrutiny because of our risk engine determining how fast in which your goods will go. So we are working assiduously to make sure that trade is seamless and we make things better in terms of our services to Nigerians.
Well, we have to thank you so much, Assistant Controller of Customs, Mr. Mayweather Abdullahi. Thank you for your time as a spokesperson of the Nigeria Customs Service. We're hoping you give time frame, 24 hours, 36 hours, or 8 hours. But clearly, this is not the end of the conversation. I will be having you very soon, and even the Controller General to speak on some other issues. But thank you, and I wish you the very best.
I will be glad to be with you again. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, there you have it. Would like to hear feedback from Nigerians on, well, just your experience with the customs. But in the meantime, let's come over to Lagos and talk about innovation. That's in a moment. Stay with us.